And we have to be very careful because there is a possibility in the United Nations this summer that they will have a declaration for a unilateral declaration of a Palestinian state. And until you deal with the terrorism in that situation with Hamas and some of the other entities that are there, Al-Quds Brigade and Islamic Jihad, you're creating a terrorist state. So we have to be very careful about that. Next slide. Okay, I continue to show this slide here because you need to understand the employment and unemployment curves. This is something that we have to deal with. You know, we've got to get Americans back to work. And the means by which we get Americans back to work is the economic policies that support job growth. And I'm not just talking about short term, I'm talking about long-term sustainable job growth. And if we don't understand that, then we're going to miss the boat. And that has a lot to do, you'll see later, with the ability of Social Security to be viable as we go ahead. And we'll talk about what the trustees, the report that they put out on Friday. Next slide. The other thing we have to be really concerned about are the deficits that we're running. And the deficits are simply the difference between revenues and spending. Right now, the average revenues that we're bringing into the United States of America, $2.2 to $2.3 trillion. The problem is the federal government is spending anywhere from 3.5 up to $3.8 trillion. So that's why in the past 3 years we have been running deficits of 1.42 trillion, 1.29 trillion, and the deficit for this year is supposed to hit 1.65 trillion, which of course drives the fact of the debt. It's not a revenue problem that we have in the United States of America. The problem is with us up in Washington, D.C. And if we don't curtail the spending there, you know, Bishop Masters, it doesn't matter what you're doing down here in Riviera Beach. We're not going to be setting you up for success. And that's what we have to turn around. Next slide. And it's just the same here with the debt. Okay, everyone knows what happened today. Today we hit the quote-unquote debt ceiling. $14.3 trillion that we owe. Now the thing that you must understand is very simple. That $14.3 trillion is 66% of our gross domestic product. History shows when you hit 80% of your debt to GDP, you're about to flatline. We've got to turn this around. And the only way that we turn this around is, once again, we've got to make ourselves fiscally responsible up in Washington, D.C. Next slide. And you can see how our foreign debt has increased over the years, going back to 1970 up to now. %47% of our debt is held by foreign nations. Next slide. And that's wrong. Now, if you don't think that a country like China, having almost 1/3 of your debt, affects your foreign policy and your national security, I don't know what to say. It's a very, very dangerous situation. And the thing is you have to understand is that when the Soviet Union collapsed, a country like China understood one simple thing. You can be a communist country, but you can use capitalism as a weapon. And that's where we find ourselves. And if we're not careful, the world's largest blue water navy will be flying under the Chinese flag within the next 8 to 10 years. And 70% of the surface mass of the earth is, and it affects the sea lanes of commerce. You know, you think about the Port of Palm Beach. You think about the Port of Everglades, it brought in almost $99 billion in revenue last year. A lot of that revenue comes through the Panama Canal. Panama Canal that will be expanded in 2014 to bring in larger cargo ships. But it's the Panama Canal who is being operated by Chinese contractors. Next slide. And this is what happens with the interest off of their debt. Off our debt. It's a major threat. Next slide. This is the pie. This is the concern. I mean, we can sit and we can take away the entire defense part of our budget, which, you know, as per our GDP, defense is only about 3.8% right now. But even if you do that, it will not have any sort of effect long-term on the debt and the deficit that we have in this country. You're going to have to do something on this side. And this is where it takes courage. This is where it takes people that will come down and not tell you what you want to hear. But I got to tell you the truth. Because if not, then what do we leave for our children and grandchildren? That's the challenge we face. Next slide. And this is what's happening. They're outpacing our economy. And there's nothing right now unless we make some tough decisions. As a matter of fact, just this past Friday, the Medicare Trustees Board and also Social Security Trustees Board came out and they said that in the year 2024, the Medicare Trust Fund is done. And then 12 years later, in 2036, the Social Security Trust Fund is done. That was written in the USA Today on Friday. And what will happen as we get close to 2036 for Social Security is you're looking at benefits for seniors being cut by at least 20 to 22% if we don't start thinking about how we can make these programs stronger right now. But Medicare right now is threatening to not be there for us in future generations. Next slide. And these are where we stand. Because we're living long. And we have an incredible retirement and most importantly, right here. Next slide. In 1950, for every recipient of Social Security, there was about 16 workers. And you can see how it continued to drop and drop and drop.
Where the jobs go.
And there you go. Okay. So what we have to do is, as I said, we have to have the fiscal policies that can bring production back to this country, bring manufacturing back to this country, get our small businesses back hiring Americans. Because until we can bring this back up, I mean, that's the danger. As you can see, there's a change in our life expectancy. I mean, the Simpson-Bowles Commission recommended taking that retirement age from 65 to 69. And the effects that does have on your debt and deficit curve. And that's something we're going to have to look at as we go forward. Next slide. You're already seeing these things that are happening with Medicare. I had a great opportunity to go down and spend with the Coral Springs Medical Center, or the Broward County Health Center. And this is what happens with the doctors. One of the main reasons why the healthcare cost is spiraling is we've got to do something about the catastrophic litigation. And we've got to do something about breaking down the restrictions by state under which the insurance companies are able to operate. Two of the biggest lobbying groups in Washington, D.C., trial lawyers and insurance. And until you can bring in good and fair competition in healthcare insurance, you're not going to be able to crack this whatsoever. Until you put patients in charge of developing their own insurance plans and not having these state commissioners being the ones that are running it, it's not going to make a difference. Until you get doctors that are not practicing defensive medicine because they're so afraid of catastrophic litigation, it's not going to happen. So those are the type of things we have to do to try to reduce those healthcare costs. Next slide.
We need to support primary care too, so we don't have to.
A lot of people out there, single payer is not doing good. A lot of people are talking about this right here. But I want you to understand, you can tax those top brackets at 100% or even up to 150%, and you're still not going to make a difference. As far as the budget, which I just told you, the proposed budget for fiscal year 2012 is $3.8 trillion. The deficit that we have right now in fiscal year 20.